Welcome to Whispered Women's Stories. My husband said it wasn't cheating, just pure love. No sex, just secret letters. Calling another woman my wife. So I smiled and destroyed his perfect life. Stay, this gets messy fast.
Chapter 1. It was supposed to be just another ordinary Tuesday. The cicadas outside were buzzing nonstop, grating on my nerves. Dinner had barely ended when Kaelin Thorne set down his chopsticks, wiped his mouth slowly and deliberately, then suddenly said, "Zinnia, stop spending all day glued to the stove doing work any nanny could handle." He adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses. The look in his eyes carried a kind of disdain I barely recognized. "You should read more, broaden your horizons, improve your taste and refinement. After all, Leora doesn't need a mother who knows nothing except how to be a housewife." My hands froze mid-air as I was stacking the dishes. In that instant, it felt like lightning split through the fog. Everything became crystal clear to me. He had someone to compare me to now. Chapter 2. Our 6-year-old daughter was sitting nearby, absorbed in her picture book. I forced down the anger boiling in my chest. Keeping my expression calm, I neatly stacked the dishes and said softly, "Sweetheart, go back to your room and draw for a bit. Mommy will come see you soon." After sending her away, I dropped onto the couch and turned on the TV, switching to the over-the-top soap opera channel I usually watched to unwind. Kaelin's brows instantly knitted together. "The dishes are still piled in the sink. Why aren't they washed?" "Leave them there, and they'll start to smell." He had an almost pathological sensitivity to odors. Even the faintest trace of cooking fumes could set him off. If this were before, I would have rushed to the sink immediately, terrified of annoying him. But today, I took my time brewing myself a cup of jasmine tea and didn't even look up. "Since you said anyone can do it, why don't you wash them yourself, Professor Thorne?" Kaelin laughed in anger, like he was watching an unreasonable clown. "I was just giving you some well-meaning advice, for the kids' sake. Do you really have to blow up like this? Wash them or don't. Do whatever you want." On the TV, the drama had reached its most explosive moment. The wife was in a mall, tearing at the mistress's hair, screaming hysterically. And the cheating husband had the mistress tightly wrapped in his arms, pointing at his wife and yelling, "Look at you now, like a lunatic? You don't look anything like a classy rich lady anymore. Staring at your sloppy, worn-out face every day makes me lose my appetite." The wife stood there, utterly shattered, deflated like a balloon with all the air let out. She could only watch as the scumbag walked away with that so-called elegant woman in his arms. The plot was trashy in the most perfect way. I took a sip of tea, tilted my head, and looked at Kaelin with a faint, knowing smile. "Hey, don't you think all cheating men love finding excuses for themselves? Turning their lack of self-control into some noble true love or soulmate story?" His cool, distant face stiffened visibly. Boring. How would I know the answer to such a stupid question? Chapter 3. I didn't respond. I just stared straight at him. Only when I saw his Adam's apple bob twice did he hurriedly add, "If you've got too much free time, sign up for a class. Flower arranging, tea appreciation, something like that. Don't waste your life on this mindless garbage TV." I snapped the TV off, stood up, and headed toward the bedroom. As I passed him, I deliberately stopped and patted his shoulder. "Professor Thorne, don't forget to wash the dishes. It's for family harmony." Early the next morning, I contacted a housekeeping agency and hired an hourly helper at a high rate. From now on, cooking and washing dishes were no longer my problem. That evening, when Kaelin came home from work, my daughter and I had already eaten our fill. He stared at the unfamiliar, busy figure in the kitchen, his brow furrowing so tightly it looked like it could kill a fly. "Who's that?" he demanded with his eyes. "The cook," I replied casually. "You know I don't like strangers wandering around the house." "I've eaten your cooking for years. I'm used to it. You should just keep doing it." Leaning against the doorframe, I shot back coolly. After eating the same thing for so many years, anyone would get sick of it. Stuff you've never tried always seems better, doesn't it? I had never been the kind of woman who quietly swallowed everything. Back in school, if anyone dared mess with me, I could make them cry for mercy. I was smart about it too, always hitting where it wouldn't leave visible marks, while making sure I had injuries of my own as proof. Catching the sarcasm in my tone, Kaelin let out a heavy sigh and assumed a lecturing posture. I just made an offhand comment and you're still holding a grudge? Zinnia, people need to grow up. Those sharp edges of yours should have been worn down by now. You also need to set an example of gentleness for our daughter. Bang! I didn't bother arguing. I grabbed the mug beside me and smashed it hard at his feet. Shards exploded everywhere, making him jerk backward in shock. Are you done? If you don't want to eat, I'll have the helper dump the food straight into the trash. Ignoring his stunned, distorted expression, I turned to the trembling helper and smiled gently. You can head home now. Come back at the same time tomorrow. Then, do these dishes need washing? She asked nervously. I shook my head and gave Kaelin a long, meaningful look. No. For something this simple, I have someone else in mind. After the helper fled, Kaelin's chest heaved with rage. You really had to humiliate me in front of an outsider? What? Did I embarrass Professor Thorne? Do you think I'm too sharp, too uncultured, nothing like that gentle, understanding woman outside? Zinnia Vossler, you're completely unreasonable. He slammed the door and stormed out. Unreasonable? Ha. Chapter 4. When he was chasing after me back then, he didn't talk like this at all. He used to say my bright, bold personality was a beam of light in his dull, colorless life. He said we were a collision of two completely different worlds, and that contrast obsessed him, made him feel like his life would have no regrets. Back in freshman year, I was basically the backbone of the Muay Thai club. Girls who could survive the hellish training and make it to the finals were rare. I was one of them. At the time, Kaelin was a scrawny, bookish guy who looked like he'd snap in half if the wind blew too hard. He watched me on the ring, drenched in sweat, and fell for me at first sight. Hey, your name really doesn't match you, he said. What, you heard Zinnia and thought I'd be some fragile, poetic girl? Sorry to disappoint, I'm more like someone who could uproot a tree barehanded. Guess that shattered your fantasy, huh? Top student? His face instantly turned bright red and he waved his hands nervously. No, I think you're amazing. Oh, cool. Like one of those righteous female warriors from ancient stories. I've never met a girl with so much life in her. By the time he finished speaking, even the tips of his ears were red. He kept his head down, too shy to look at me. Well, now you've seen it, I said. Try not to act so shocked next time. I was about to leave when he hurried after me. Could I add you on Facebook? Sure. Back then, he was awkward and tongue-tied. I didn't think much of it. After we added each other, apart from the occasional we barely talked. Until one day, on his way back to campus after tutoring, he got cornered in an alley by a few thugs demanding money. With his skinny frame, he probably wouldn't survive a single punch. Since I already carried the reputation of being a female warrior, and I'd run into it, there was no way I could just walk away. Chapter 5. Hey, a bunch of grown men bullying a skinny student? Don't you have any shame? If you've got guts, come at me. I'll spar with you myself. The moment they heard that, the thugs turned and surrounded me. Clearly, compared to a broke college kid, harassing a woman interested them more. Kaelin had already braced himself for a brutal beating. When he saw this, his eyes went red. Zinnia, run. Don't worry about me. I shot him a look full of disdain. Shut up. If you really want to help, stand far away and cheer. I wanted it over fast. I loosened my wrists and charged in. Even with training, 2 fists can't beat 4 hands. In the end, I still got hurt. A nasty bruise bloomed on my face, and I twisted my arm. Kaelin walked me to the hospital with a miserable expression, getting mocked by me the entire way. Later, he said he could never repay my life-saving kindness, so the only option was to give himself to me. After graduation, I started my own business and made my first big payout. He stayed in school for grad studies and climbed steadily until he became an associate professor. During those years, most of our household expenses and his tuition came out of my pocket. I truly took him from a small-town test-taking machine and supported him into a scholar, admired by everyone. Back in his obscure hometown, he became the pride of the entire family. His parents, farmers, their whole lives, suddenly stood taller than anyone else. He once held me tightly and said, with deep emotion, that I was the benefactor fate had sent him. Our life only got better, bigger house, luxury cars, and an adorable daughter. To take care of the kid, I handed my company over to professional managers and returned home, cooking and managing the household full-time. And what did I get in return? Once success was secured, the benefactor of the past became today's nuisance. He started calling me vulgar. Said I was uneducated. I didn't know how far he'd gone with that so-called elegant goddess outside. But I have one strength. I'm patient. Without solid proof, I wasn't about to flip the table. I had money. I had time. I could afford to play this game of cat and mouse with him slowly. Kaelin continued maintaining his flawless image. Hair perfectly in place, shirts crisply ironed, always carrying that faint woody scent of cologne. After our argument that night, the post-dinner dishwashing really did become his responsibility. Another utterly ordinary afternoon. Because my company was acquiring a project, I needed to find a book on merger and acquisition law at home. I searched the study for ages, finally found the book, and was about to leave. Out of the corner of my eye, I suddenly noticed a flash of glaring red in a narrow gap on the very top shelf. The color was too vivid, completely out of place in this cold, minimalist study. Almost without thinking, I stepped onto a chair and reached for it. Chapter 6. It was a finely made silk ribbon, hidden very deep. Why would something so obviously feminine be in the study? My heart skipped a beat. I pulled harder. What came out from behind it was a thick stack of brown paper envelopes. Every 2 letters were carefully tied together with the same red ribbon, full of deliberate ritual and intimacy. The envelopes looked brand new. You could tell from the texture alone that they weren't cheap. Love letters? Could they be from some female student who admired him? But my instincts told me it wasn't that simple. With trembling fingers, I randomly pulled one out. The moment I opened it, just from scanning the first 4 words, every drop of blood in my body seemed to freeze. My beloved Elowen, seeing this letter is like seeing you. When I didn't see you in the research office today, I only then realized you had gone home to visit family. An unexpected emptiness and loneliness crept into my heart. Somehow, without my noticing, you've already taken root in my soul. I only regret that fate placed us at the wrong time. Bound by social norms, we cannot stay together in this life, only resonate in spirit. The flowers along the road are in bloom. You may return slowly. Fighting back nausea, I opened another letter, clearly a reply, my dearest. Only a few days apart, yet I miss you to madness. Though the world does not allow us, our souls are already tightly entwined. I only wish that in the next life, we meet earlier and never miss each other again. The further I read, the more violently my stomach churned. Today you were so beautiful it unsettled my very soul. Come into my dreams tonight. Let us reunite there and continue what fate denied us. My beloved, even if I cannot possess your body, having your heart is already heaven's greatest mercy upon me. My body is tainted by the mortal world. I dare not defile one as pure as you. You are the white moonlight in my heart. I only wish to protect you forever, never letting you be touched by dust. My dearest, how I long to wake every morning and see your sleeping face. Chapter 7. In the world I have woven, we were already married 3 years ago. By now, our child would be this tall, surely brilliant and clever. But every time I set down my pen and return to this cold reality, I remember that you are still someone else's partner, someone else's child's parent. Do you know how it tears my heart apart? Perhaps my life was too smooth before, and fate sent this trial as punishment. Yet I have no regrets. Even if loving you ruins me completely, I would accept it gladly. Today, a careless brush of fingertips made my heart race uncontrollably. I envy that woman. She gets to claim you openly. As for me, even holding your hand is a luxury. How could the glow of a firefly ever rival the full moon? A vulgar person like her was never worthy of being compared to you. For every single letter, Kaelin had kept a handwritten copy. One for himself, one for her, carefully matched, meticulously tied. At the bottom of each envelope were two unmistakable names: Kaelin Thorne, Elowen Halowen. Like some kind of masochist, I forced myself to read nearly all 200 letters. The dense handwriting felt like countless writhing maggots dragging me into a twisted, foul-smelling world. I had imagined countless versions of infidelity, but never, not once, did I imagine the truth would be this nauseating. A so-called pure platonic emotional affair. I clapped a hand over my mouth and rushed into the bathroom, hugging the toilet as I vomited until I was dizzy. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This was 100 times more revolting than catching them in bed, wearing the skin of true love while doing the most shameless, vile things imaginable. Enjoying the comfortable life I provided, while worshiping another woman as a goddess in his mind, and grinding me into the dirt. If I didn't find a way to let this out, I felt like I'd go insane the next second. May those two shameless trash humans rot. But reason told me this wasn't some feel-good revenge novel. I couldn't pretend to be endlessly patient, plotting for a year or two before delivering a fatal blow. Nor could I quietly leave behind a divorce agreement, walk away gracefully, and wait for him to realize his mistake and beg for forgiveness later. Right now, I just wanted to lose my mind. I wanted to kick those two disgusting people straight into hell. Even if I couldn't actually destroy them, I would make sure they were exposed, humiliated, and drowned in public scorn. A simple divorce? That would be far too kind. It would only let them believe their great love had finally broken free from society's restraints, a triumphant tale of lovers reunited. I took a deep breath and forced myself to calm down. I spent a full hour photographing every single letter, page by page, preserving all the evidence. Then I sent Laura to stay at my best friend's place using a work trip as an excuse. What was about to happen would be far too ugly for a child to see. That evening, Kaelin walked into the study like nothing was wrong. Less than 5 minutes later, he stormed out, his face ashen, panic flickering in his eyes. Did someone go into my study? Chapter 8. I was sitting on the couch, trimming my nails without even looking up. Yeah, I went in to look for a book today. His fists clenched hard, knuckles turning white. Even his voice was shaking. Did you touch any of my things? I looked up with an innocent expression. What? Did you lose something? Tell me what it is. I'll help you look. Seeing my face, Kaelin visibly relaxed. He loosened his grip. It's nothing. Maybe I remembered wrong. I'll look for it myself. With that, he turned and tried to retreat into the study. Even bound by society, unable to stay together, having loved you is enough. I recited the line softly toward his back. My tone was cold, laced with a strange, eerie smile. That tall, upright figure froze instantly like a stone statue. He didn't dare turn around. I continued, unhurried. The flowers along the road are in bloom. You may return slowly. Tease, Ace. What a deeply moving, earth-shattering love story. Kaelin, you seriously disgust me. The moment the words left my mouth, I grabbed the ashtray off the coffee table and hurled it at him. He turned around in sheer panic. Bang! The ashtray struck his temple. Blood immediately streamed down his face, dripping onto his pristine white shirt like a burst red blossom. His pupils shook violently, his voice trembling out of tune. You saw everything? Yeah. Every single word. I read it all. I stood up and walked toward him step by step. What a noble, spotless Professor Thorne. What a sanctimonious, two-faced hypocrite. Kaelin, you cheated. Those 4 words landed like nails, pinning him straight through his weakest spot. I didn't, he shouted. It's not what you think. He didn't even bother wiping the blood away as he rushed over and grabbed my wrist, gripping so hard it hurt. Give it back. That's my privacy. I've trained in combat for years. With a quick counter grab, I broke free effortlessly. If it's such a pure, holy, divine love, why hide it like a rat in the gutter? Why not post it publicly and let everyone admire it? And how could you bear to let your beloved Elowen live in the shadows like this? Chapter 9. Kaelin snapped like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He grabbed my shoulders and shook me violently. Zinnia, shut up. She's not the other woman. I won't let you smear her with such filthy words. We never did anything that betrayed you. His eyes were bloodshot, as if that woman were some untouchable saint in his heart. I laughed in anger and shoved him away. What do you mean betray? Does it only count if you're naked and rolling in bed together? Kaelin, is your skin made of concrete? How do you even have the nerve to stay alive? He collapsed onto the couch in defeat, grabbed a few tissues, and pressed them to his bleeding forehead. After several deep breaths, he finally regained a shred of composure. I can explain this. She and I are just colleagues who resonate on a spiritual level. Mutual appreciation. We never crossed any lines. You read the letters. You know I'm not lying. I admit my heart wavered, but I always stopped where propriety demanded. Zinnia, judge actions, not thoughts. I didn't truly betray you. And as for her, she's innocent. She did nothing wrong and doesn't deserve your insults. In 10 years of knowing him, this was the first time I realized there was truly no bottom to a person's shamelessness. It felt like I'd never known the man standing in front of me. Ha 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 ha. I laughed until tears nearly came out. You're calling each other my dearest, dreaming about sleeping together, fantasizing about how old your imaginary kid would be. And now you're telling me you did nothing? Do you think my brain is full of sludge? Something you can smear over however you like? Kaelin closed his eyes, wearing that pained expression of someone thinking, there's no way to reason with someone this vulgar. Then what do you want? He said. Tell me, what do I need to do for this to be over? I sat down across from him and crossed my legs. Just because you haven't slept together yet doesn't mean you won't. Once that so-called spiritual fig leaf is torn off, how far away is physical collapse? He snapped his eyes open and stared at me, swearing earnestly. We're not as disgusting as you think. Fine, I sneered. Then can you guarantee you'll keep absolute distance from her from now on? When I'm not watching, can you control your heart and your body? From this moment on, I want your phone password. I want access to your car's dash cam anytime. Dare you agree? Kaelin answered without hesitation. Fine. He agreed so easily only because he was confident. Confident I wouldn't find anything. After all, people who pride themselves on being refined tend to believe that handwritten letters are the purest form of love. Their phones are spotless. No messages, no emojis, nothing incriminating. What he didn't realize was this. I knew he was at a critical stage in applying for full professorship. That was his lifeline, his pride, the thing he cared about most. I wasn't planning to check up on him. I was going to wait until he was standing at the very peak, and then personally push him off the edge, watching him shatter into pieces on the way down. Chapter 10. Elowen. The name sounded elegant enough, almost ethereal. Too bad it was all surface polish, rotten on the inside. My investigation showed she was the academic advisor for that class, while Kaelin was the professor for their major courses. They saw each other every day, passing glances, lingering looks. Who knew how many times they'd played out their little ink and lamp romance behind closed office doors? I never returned those letters to Kaelin. He knew he was in the wrong and didn't dare demand them back. Leora was brought home again, still doting on her dad as always. Everything seemed to have truly blown over. Life at home returned to its usual calm. Kaelin thought one explosive fight meant the matter was done. I was more than happy to play along. Sure enough, after venting once, I did feel calmer. Calm enough to sharpen the knife. Half a month later, another perfectly ordinary Friday. Kaelin texted me saying there was a faculty dinner that night and he wouldn't be home for dinner. Staring at my phone screen, I curled my lips into a cold smile. I'd been waiting for this day for a long time. Those letters made it very clear. Today was Elowen's birthday. Following the location, I drove to a private club known for its discretion. Standing outside the private room, I could hear bursts of laughter inside. Happy birthday, Elowen. Thank you, everyone. Every birthday is happy, but thinking about getting another year older does make me a little wistful. That voice, soft and sweet enough to make your bones go weak. What does it matter? Elowen is forever 18. Exactly. Elowen is the most elegant, most fairy-like teacher I've ever seen. Time never defeats true beauty. This isn't age, it's charm. We could never learn that. Professor Thorne, back us up. Aren't we telling the truth? Chapter 11. The door was slightly ajar. Kaelin's unmistakable voice drifted out, gentle enough to melt water. They're telling the truth. But Elowen is shy. She'll get embarrassed. Come on, let's cut the cake. Students immediately started teasing him. Professor, what did you wish for? Oh, nothing special. Just hoping my family stays safe and healthy, and that all of you do well in your studies. Oh, come on. No one else? After a few snickers, one bold guy raised his voice. I don't believe Professor Thorne isn't on Elowen's wish list. Hey, don't talk nonsense. The voice sounded bashful, with a trace of coy reproach hidden beneath it. More laughter followed. I pushed the door open without expression. The lively atmosphere froze instantly, like someone hit pause. The scene inside was painfully obvious. Elowen's face was flushed, her body nearly tucked into Kaelin's arms, and my dear partner had his arm wrapped very naturally around her slim waist. Clearly, my sudden appearance had left him no time to pull that wandering hand away. Hey, who are you? Don't you have any manners, barging in like this? Yeah, if you went to the wrong room, apologize and leave. You ruined the mood. I swept a cold glance over the two students who spoke up, a mocking smile tugging at my lips. Only then did Kaelin snap back to reality. He jerked away from Elowen like he'd been shocked and took a step aside. My heels clicked as I walked toward him. Kaelin, aren't you going to introduce me to your students? Everyone froze. Elowen seemed to realize something. Her delicate face drained of color instantly, humiliation written all over it. This is my partner. Kaelin's voice was dry and hoarse. The chatter died completely, plunging the room into dead silence. Zinnia, how did you find this place? He instinctively reached for my hand. I flung it away sharply. Can we talk about this at home? Don't make a scene here. Chapter 12. Home? Since it's already started, shouldn't we see it through? I stepped past him, my gaze settling on the gentle-looking woman. Elowen, right? I came uninvited. You don't mind, do you? To her credit, Elowen recovered quickly. Years of teaching had clearly given her strong composure, and she slipped back into that cultured, well-mannered facade. Of course not. It's an honor for you to come to my birthday. As she spoke, she thoughtfully poured me a glass of juice and handed it over. I took it, smiling warmly. Then let me wish you too, Elowen. Happy birthday. The moment the words left my mouth, I flicked my wrist and splashed the entire glass straight at her face. Ah! A scream rang out. The orange liquid dripped down from her bangs, mixing with melting foundation and streaking across her once delicate face in a humiliating mess. Oh my God! How can you hit someone like that? Elowen, are you okay? So this is Professor Thorne's partner. No wonder. Zinnia, you've gone too far. Kaelin's face darkened terrifyingly as he forced the words out through clenched teeth. Elowen covered her face and sobbed softly. Juice-soaked strands of hair clung to her cheeks, making her look even more pitiful. Ma'am, this is our first time meeting. If I've done something wrong to offend you, you can tell me. Why humiliate me like this? Chapter 13. Several female students scrambled to wipe her off with wet tissues, glaring at me as if I were their sworn enemy. Where did you offend me? I let out a cold laugh. You really think you're worthy of asking that? I swept my gaze across the room. Shameless thing. Did your parents raise you just so you could become a third party, calling someone else's husband my lord? Hey, watch your mouth. A so-called knight immediately jumped out to defend her. Elowen and Professor Thorne are completely innocent. This is just mutual admiration between brilliant minds. It's the 21st century, Auntie. Stop acting like some leftover from the Qing dynasty, will you? Someone in the crowd muttered under their breath, she's probably just some uncultured housewife, so backward it hurts. I couldn't be bothered to argue with this brainwashed crowd obsessed with romantic projection. Elowen as a teacher, Inserting yourself into someone else's marriage. Your school keeping someone like you is a disgrace and a harm to students. The sharp-tongued student from earlier spoke again. Spare us the moral kidnapping. We're all adults. We can judge for ourselves. And you? No class, completely unhinged. Professor Thorne marrying a shrew like you. He must have terrible karma. Pathetic. The ignorant fear nothing. I looked at that student carefully, etched their face into memory. The Professor Thorne and Elowen you worship exchange love letters every few days, addressing each other as my beloved wife and my lord husband. This so-called platonic affair has been going on for a year. If your own parents did this outside their marriage, would you applaud too? Elowen abruptly stopped crying. Her pupils shook violently as she turned to Kaelin in terror. Kaelin stared at me, veins throbbing at his temples. Restraint stretched to its absolute limit. Chapter 14. What? Beloved wife? Husband? The students exchanged looks, their faith beginning to crack. Is that real? No way. It has to be slander. Professor has the strongest boundaries. Do you have proof? Anyone can talk big. I watched their expressions shift, then fixed my gaze on Kaelin's already distorted face. Professor Thorne, they're asking me for evidence. Should I take out the digital copies and the originals right now and let everyone read them? I've backed everything up after all. Kaelin shut his eyes in pain. There was a faint glimmer of moisture at the corners. That's enough. Stop. We're going home. Before leaving, he cast Elowen a long look, full of helplessness and reluctance. She returned it with the same depth of feeling. What a tragic pair of star-crossed lovers, torn apart by the mundane world. He even remembered to tell the students, take good care of her. The image these two had built at school was flawless. The aloof, ascetic professor times the gentle, gifted female scholar. That kind of pairing hit young students right in the heart, making them ship it obsessively in private. They were clever too, well aware that the school valued discipline above all else. So even if desire burned them alive, they never held hands in public, relying instead on letters, ancient and discreet, to flirt. That hazy, forbidden thrill probably addicted them completely. After leaving, we didn't go home. We sat down at a nearby tea lounge. Zinnia, you broke your word, he said. He meant that this was supposed to be over. I shouldn't have brought it up again. You were the one who broke it first. I tossed my bag onto the table and looked at him coldly. Using our joint marital funds to throw her such an extravagant birthday party, did you get my consent? Letting students make those filthy jokes, holding her in your arms and enjoying the softness, that's what you call keeping distance? His face flushed red, eyes darting away. Everyone drank too much. I didn't want to ruin the mood. You didn't have to escalate it like this, and splashing her in public. Zinnia, after all these years, how have you made no progress at all? Still so crude. The disappointment in his eyes wasn't even concealed. If you dislike me that much, I said flatly, then divorce me. Those two words were like flipping a switch. His expression changed instantly. Divorce? How can you say that so lightly? What would the school think of me? What would the public say? He'd lived his whole life pretending to be lofty. Even his cheating had to be packaged as refined and pure. Reputation, academic status, other people's opinions. Those were his lifelines. Good professor, good husband, good father. Those halos fed his hypocritical pride perfectly. Chapter 15. The reason he never actually slept with Elowen wasn't moral integrity, nor some ridiculous noble restraint for true love. It was simple. He was a coward. He didn't dare bear the cost of confirmed infidelity, so he used spiritual intimacy to hypnotize himself into believing he was still spotless and upright. Greed, that was his true nature. He wanted fame and success, a stable family, and a muse on the side. He wanted everything. If you want it all, then I'll make sure you're left with nothing. Tonight's outburst left me feeling much better. I had plenty of energy to take my time playing this game with him. After the divorce, you won't have to endure a money-stinking merchant like me anymore, I said, sipping my tea with open sarcasm. No more fear of me tarnishing your pristine reputation. You can even fly off with your beloved wife and live together. Isn't that exactly what you've always dreamed of? Though we were college alumni, deep down he'd always believed I wasn't worthy of him. Yet it never crossed his mind. Without me earning money and propping him up from behind, could he have pursued academia without distraction? More importantly, he was right at the most critical stage of being evaluated for full professorship. Can we not talk about divorce? His tone softened, carrying a trace of pleading. I'll have her apply for a transfer. From now on, we won't have any professional contact at all. That's my bottom line. If you're still not satisfied, there's nothing more I can do. See? That's what a hypocrite looks like. Only when his core interests are threatened does he suddenly play the role of a cornered, honest man. Chapter 16. In his heart, he would never believe he was in the wrong. He would only think that I was being aggressive, pushing him into a corner with no way out. Fine. I agreed without hesitation, because I knew very well that this kind of forced distance would only make their love feel more etched into bone. Those chance encounters in campus corners, where they could only look at each other in silence, their eyes clinging, would make them believe their love was even greater, even more tragic. And that was exactly what I needed. The day Kaelin competed for the full professorship finally arrived. Because he had previously agreed to supervision, his WeChat account stayed logged in on his computer long term. The very moment he finished sending out all his application materials, I forwarded with a single click a meticulously prepared PPT I'd made long ago, screenshots of 200 nauseating love letters sent to all his work groups, research groups, and massive student chats. The file title was blunt and brutal. Hard evidence, Kaelin and Elowen's marital period emotional infidelity. The instant the message went out, every group exploded. Professor Thorne? Was this sent by mistake? Holy shit! Cloud and rain passion? This is insane. Wait, doesn't Professor Thorne have a wife and a kid? I always thought their eye contact was weird, so it was real. Let's be real, emotional cheating is still cheating, right? Students are always on the front line of gossip. All the groups started. Feng Kuang, Eloi, Act, Kaelin. He noticed. Panicked, he began frantically recalling messages. Unfortunately for him, his hand speed was no match for my forwarding. Every message he withdrew, I immediately reposted. I imagined him sitting in front of his computer at that moment, hands and feet ice cold, mind blank, so flustered he even forgot he could forcibly log out of desktop WeChat from his phone. After more than 10 minutes, the chats finally quieted down. I figured everyone who needed to see it had already seen it. Leaders, colleagues, students. It wasn't enough to land him in prison, but it was more than enough to disgust people and completely shatter his carefully crafted persona. That night, Kaelin came home looking utterly lost. The look he gave me was impossibly complex. Disappointment, revulsion, and deep, visceral fear. You keep breaking your word, trampling on our dignity like this. What do you actually want? Why talk about trust with scum? I didn't even look at him. Playing you two is as easy as walking a dog. Chapter 17. He let out a miserable laugh and slumped onto the sofa. Maybe it was wrong from the start. We were never on the same path. My qualification was revoked. I was even demoted to an ordinary lecturer. Do you know how long I prepared for this day? How hard it was for me to get here? Zinnia, you really have no heart. Fine, you hate me because you loved me, but why drag Elowen into this? She was transferred to a dead-end department. Her future is half ruined. Is this the punishment for my impulsively marrying you back then? I poured myself a glass of water and spoke unhurriedly. First, this is the punishment for your betrayal of our marriage and trampling my dignity. Second, don't talk to me about love. You're not worthy. I did this purely for my own satisfaction. Don't flatter yourself by calling it love turned to hate. Third, Elowen ending up like this is half because she debased herself, and the other half because you're incompetent. I left him speechless. He could only change the subject. Now that things have come to this, your anger should be gone, right? You're satisfied now, aren't you? I gave no answer. To him, this was already a punishment beyond imagination. But for me, the game had only just begun. Even at this point, he still didn't dare mention divorce, because the moment he did, all those once ambiguous affairs would be officially confirmed. Once a person has a weak spot, they can be controlled completely. Chapter 18. I genuinely despise this kind of man. In the days that followed, Kaelin kept his head down at school, trying to salvage his image through diligence and obedience. He stopped speaking to me, and I welcomed the peace. As for the backlash I received, it was limited to the occasional harassment text on my phone. I didn't need to guess. Those came from the brain-dead fans of that celestial couple. You vulgar shrew. Destroying their reputation still won't earn you Professor Thorne's heart. You don't deserve him at all. In our hearts, they're true love. You'll always be the loser. None of that hurt. But what I failed to account for was my daughter, Leora. Kaelin might be a cheating bastard, but he really was good to our daughter. Sometimes, to maintain appearances, he even took Leora to social gatherings. She was familiar with several of those students. That night, I tucked Leora in. She didn't give me a goodnight kiss like she usually did. Instead, she turned her back to me and asked in a muffled voice, "Mom, am I about to lose my dad?" My heart skipped. Who told you that? The big brothers and sisters said Mom made Dad lose his job. That Dad won't be able to buy me toys anymore or take me to the amusement park. As she spoke, she suddenly burst into tears, her little fists pounding against my chest again and again. I hate you, Mom. Those words hurt far more than Kaelin's betrayal ever did. No, sweetheart, Dad is still Dad. You're lying. I want to be with Dad. Mom is bad. Mom bullies Dad. She accused me through tear-blurred eyes. At that moment, I finally realized the mistake I'd made. I had been intoxicated by the pleasure of revenge, thinking I could explain everything slowly once the dust settled. But I forgot. Children are independent individuals too. What they need is the truth, not to be kept in the dark. Chapter 19. Big brothers and sisters, huh? Those ringleader fans, right? If they dared to reach for my child, then they shouldn't blame me for being ruthless. I looked into the backgrounds of those students. Coincidentally, every one of them came from families with some standing in the city, business owners with names and faces. That made things even easier. Before everything ended, I scheduled a meeting with Elowen, planning to deliver her the final blow. At the cafe, she still held herself with that elegant poise. Even while trapped in the eye of the storm, she still believed she was an innocent victim. I went straight to the point. He still hasn't touched you, has he? Elowen flushed, straightened her back, and said firmly, "What we share is pure emotion. He didn't want to, that's respect for me." I curled my lips, mercilessly shattering her illusion. Respect? Don't be naive. It's because your charm hasn't been enough to help him overcome his fear. Admit it. This man is weak to his core. He loves himself 100 times more than he loves you. If you don't believe me, he could divorce me right now and marry you openly. But look, does he dare? Give it 5 or 10 more years. Students will come and go, and he'll still be the happily married Professor Thorne. And you, branded as a homewrecker, your future ruined. A woman only has so many good years. Are you sure you can wait for the day he finally pulls you up? The certainty in her eyes began to crumble, panic flashing through them. Chapter 20. You're lying. You're just trying to drive a wedge between us. I won't fall for it. I tapped the table lightly, rhythmically. Believe it or not, that's up to you. I came today to make a bet. If you can get Kaelin to sleep with you, I'll believe he truly loves you and is willing to defy the world for you. The moment you two sleep together, I'll walk away, and I'll even release a public statement to clear your names and bless your union. But if you can't do it, then you must bow your head and admit you're the third party who intruded into someone else's marriage. So, do you dare? Her eyes lit up. You mean it? That depends on whether Ms. Yoon has confidence in herself. The moment Elowen agreed, I nearly laughed out loud. When a woman has to use her body to prove a man's love, she has already lost. Completely. No matter how saintly Kaelin pretended to be, he was still a man. When the goddess he obsessed over offered herself, willing to spend the night with him, how could he possibly resist? In the face of naked desire, every moral disguise collapses instantly. A few days later, Elowen sent me 2 photos. Her smug satisfaction practically radiated through the screen. One was a close-up of bloodstains on the bedsheet. The other was a photo of her beside Kaelin, his upper body bare, sleeping soundly. Chapter 21. Below the photos was a single line. I did it. I hope you'll keep your promise. Apparently, Kaelin never told her that I never keep promises with enemies. I immediately forwarded the original PPT, along with those 2 crystal-clear new photos, to my company's PR team. This time, it wasn't limited to a few WeChat groups. It was a full-scale internet bombing. #University professor cheats with student. My team cold and pure persona collapsed. Chogwaswa in verse 6 months, then strikes back. The tags shot straight to trending. What had once been campus gossip was now exposed before hundreds of millions of netizens. The comment section exploded. Holy shit, cheating is this classical now? I'm nauseous. Emotional cheating is even more disgusting than physical cheating. Look again, there's solid proof later. They already slept together. This original wife is a role model for us all. I feel spiritually cleansed. Are those students brain dead? They actually helped the mistress attack the wife? The school's name has been dug up. This is getting good. Chapter 22. The internet's ability to dig up dirt is terrifying. Soon enough, their real names and workplaces were completely exposed. The parents of those fan leaders who had verbally attacked my daughter stormed the school, demanding the expulsion of these 2 corruptors of youth. Under immense public pressure, the school issued its final ruling. The allegations are substantiated. Both individuals are expelled from the party and dismissed from their posts with a lifetime ban from employment. My phone started vibrating again. Bitch! You ruined my life! Go die! Elowen. Zinnia, I was just drunk for a moment. How could you be so heartless? I won't accept this. Kaelin, for every message they sent, I took a screenshot and pinned it at the top of the comment section. Kill the body, crush the heart. Soon, the world went quiet. That evening, I held Leora in my arms. Mom, I'm sorry. I chose a gentle way to tell her the truth. Daddy had done something wrong. He betrayed the family. Leora doesn't need to apologize to Mommy. I stroked her back. Yes, I do. You said people must take responsibility. With tears in her eyes, she said, I said things that made Mommy sad, so I have to say sorry. I'm sorry, Mommy. My eyes burned as I hugged her tightly. Okay. Mommy accepts your apology, and Mommy forgives you too, sweetheart. Thank you, Mommy, but I'm a silly kid. I didn't even notice Daddy did something bad. Chapter 23. Holding back my tears, I comforted her. Leora isn't silly at all. Leora will grow even smarter. Trust Mommy, okay? Only then did the strength that had carried me through this battle finally drain away. Exhaustion crashed over me like a tide. Holding my daughter, I broke down in sobs. Mommy, don't cry. From now on, Leora will protect you. That was enough. A few days later, I slammed the divorce agreement down in front of Kaelin. He had long since lost his former polish, unkempt beard, bloodshot eyes. He didn't even read the document. He just looked deeply at me and our daughter. Then, with trembling hands, he signed. Leora stood beside us, opened her mouth, and in the end, said nothing. Later, I heard that Elowen was pregnant, but by then, Kaelin already loathed her, convinced it was her seduction that caused everything. You blame me now? Zinnia was right. You only ever loved yourself. You hypocrite. You slept with me and won't take responsibility? Keep dreaming. Elowen's parents were no pushovers either. Through endless tantrums and coercion, they forced Kaelin to marry her. But it was doomed to be a tragedy. Before long, the two got into a physical altercation, and Elowen miscarried. The last I heard of them, Elowen's family drained Kaelin of his remaining savings, the couple divorced, and she returned to her hometown in disgrace. As for Kaelin, someone spotted him working at a nameless cram school. The once arrogant professor was now barely scraping by. None of it had anything to do with me anymore. I had enough money. My daughter didn't need to rely on his pitiful child support. On the peak tram in Hong Kong, the city lights shimmered like a galaxy. I kissed my daughter's forehead. Baby, mommy will always love you. The end.
Thanks for listening to Whispered Women's Stories. Lesson learned: emotional cheating is still cheating, and consequences hurt more than divorce. She didn't lose her husband. He lost everything. If you love this kind of revenge, don't go anywhere. See you in the next story.